You've heard it before. He's alone. He must be lonely. But what if that's not true? What if older men today aren't lonely at all? They're wise. What if being single isn't something they regret, but something they've earned? Today we're diving straight into the raw, unfiltered truths, drawn from the voices of men who've lived, loved, lost, and chosen peace. Not because they hate love, not because they're bitter, but because they know something most people don't. If you've ever felt this quiet shift inside yourself, stay right here. Their reasons might sound like yours. 1. Divorce doesn't just hurt, it breaks a man to the bone. Every man who's walked through a divorce knows it's not simply the loss of a partner. It's watching years of hard work, devotion, and sacrifice dissolve quietly while carrying the blame and the bill. His home? Gone. His retirement? Cut in half. His children? Reduced to schedules, negotiations, supervised time. His identity? Questioned, but the deepest wound is invisible. A man who gave everything, who tried, who stayed, suddenly finds himself labeled as distant or unavailable. So no, most older men don't fear being alone. They fear something far more exhausting, giving everything again, only to watch it collapse twice. It's not bitterness. It's wisdom earned the hard way. That quiet man you see, sitting alone at his favorite table, he's not lonely. He's careful, because when a man survives that kind of betrayal, solitude isn't punishment, it's peace. 2. He's not chasing a wife, he's avoiding the act. Once upon a time, dating felt hopeful. Sweet beginnings, warm dinners, kind laughter. But for many older men, they know this script too well. In the early days, she smiles, she cooks, she listens, she makes him feel seen. But after I do, that warmth cools. Affection turns into expectation. Softness turns into demands. He remembers this shift vividly. That moment when the relationship became a performance and he became an actor trapped in a part he didn't audition for. So now, he no longer asks, how do I keep her happy? Instead, he wonders quietly, is she showing me who she really is, or just playing a role until she gets what she wants? It's not that he's against women. It's that he's tired of the act, the script, the inevitable mask. He's done applauding a show that no longer entertains because it cost him his peace once before. 3. Peace over problems every time. When he was younger, he craved excitement. He wanted noise, rush, fireworks. But not anymore. After years of walking on eggshells, decoding silences, apologizing for feelings he couldn't control, peace became priceless. His home today? It may not be perfect, but it is calm, clean, steady, predictable. The floors don't creak with tension. The air doesn't thicken with unspoken resentment. Now, every decision to open the door to someone else's presence is weighed carefully. Because why? Invite someone back into that peace, if they might bring chaos dressed as charm. It's not about loneliness. It's about respect for himself and for the sanctuary he built. For older men like him, peace isn't just a want. It's a need, a standard, and a boundary. So when they choose to stay single, it's not rejection. It's preservation. 4. He's tired of the act. He's seen it before, the cycle so many men know too well. It always begins with sweetness, the laughs, the kindness, the warm glow of early affection. At first, everything feels natural. She seems open, supportive, present. But somewhere between promises and permanence, that warmth starts to fade. Conversations turn cold. What looked like understanding becomes impatience. The man who once felt wanted now feels studied, measured, managed. For older men who have lived this cycle once, or maybe more, it's exhausting. They no longer mistake attraction for alignment. They no longer confuse warmth for wisdom. They see the shift coming now, early, and they walk away before it arrives. It's not about cynicism. It's about recognizing that love, real love, isn't about playing a part to win attention. It's about being seen as you are, and staying that way. So yes, he's tired of the act, but what he really wants is authenticity. 5. He feels like who he is isn't welcome anymore. There was a time, not so long ago, when masculinity was honored. A man who led, provided, protected, was respected. His strength was needed. His structure is admired. But today, the very same qualities are often questioned, criticized, labeled toxic. His leadership is seen as dominant, his decisiveness as inflexibility, even his silence as distance. So why would a man willingly enter a relationship where he's expected to lead, but resented for leading? Where he's expected to provide, but criticized for how he provides? He's not afraid of women. He's not running from love. He's simply clear. He refuses to play a role in a dynamic where who he is, what he's lived through, what he values, is no longer welcomed. For many older men, this isn't about stubbornness. It's about clarity, self-respect, boundaries. When who you are is under constant scrutiny, sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is step back. 6. He's looking for a teammate, not a rival. Older men have spent their lives competing, in boardrooms, on job sites, in their own minds. By the time they reach this season of life, they no longer want that competition at home. They want peace, partnership, shared purpose. But too often, they find themselves in relationships where every decision becomes a debate, where offering guidance is interpreted as control, where discussions turn into contests, and every moment feels like a subtle power struggle. For a man who has worked hard to learn how to lead with care, that constant resistance wears him down. He's not interested in wrestling for control anymore. He's interested in resting, building, healing, together. And so, when every interaction starts to feel like negotiation rather than nurture, he walks away. Not because he's giving up, but because he's given enough. At this age, he no longer seeks a partner who challenges him at every turn. He seeks a partner who brings calm, not conflict, alignment, not argument. He's not afraid of love. He's afraid of noise pretending to be love. 7. He's done with one-sided relationships. Happy wife, happy life. That phrase guided him, and many men like him, for decades. He stayed quiet, paid the bills, carried the weight, thinking that self-sacrifice would buy peace. But for too many men, that formula backfired. Instead of gratitude, he felt used. Instead of intimacy, he felt ignored. Instead of closeness, he felt distance and quiet resentment. He remembers how often his own feelings were dismissed, his needs treated as an afterthought, his role reduced to provider, fixer, background. So today, older men are awake. They see clearly now that love is not about silence or service without reciprocity. They will not sign up again for relationships where their voice doesn't matter, where they carry everything while being told it's normal. They understand that real peace can't live where one side serves and the other simply takes. It's not about anger. It's about boundaries. He's done, not with love, but with anything that asks him to disappear quietly inside it. 8. He finally sees his own worth. There's a quiet but powerful shift that happens somewhere around 50. Man stops looking outward for validation, attention, applause. Instead, he begins to look inward, and what he finds surprises even him. He realizes that the years he spent building, working, loving, struggling, all shaped him into someone solid, reliable, wise. He no longer chases attention. He no longer adjusts himself just to be liked or needed. He knows exactly who he is, what he brings, what he's worth. His time, his energy, his emotional bandwidth, all precious now. He's not desperate. He's deliberate, selective, and that makes all the difference. Where once he sought approval, today he seeks alignment. Where once he feared rejection, today he welcomes solitude, if it means staying whole. His self-worth is no longer up for negotiation, because for the first time, he sees it clearly, and he honors it fully. 9. He's looking for purpose, not just a pretty face. In his younger days, attraction was the magnet, a beautiful smile, a captivating laugh, a spark. But today, he's learned. A pretty face without shared values leads to stress down the road. Charm without character costs too much. He's not looking for entertainment. He's looking for alignment. Someone who isn't just fun to be around, but right to build with. At this stage, his focus is legacy, not lust. Peace, not passion alone. Depth, not surface-level connection. He knows that attraction fades, beauty changes, but shared purpose lasts. So when he meets someone now, he doesn't just ask, "Are we attracted to each other?" He asks, "Do we honor the same things? Will we walk in the same direction?" That shift changes everything, because for him, purpose lasts longer than pretty ever will. And if love doesn't come wrapped in purpose, he's willing to walk alone. 10. If she doesn't meet his standards, he'd rather stay alone. At this stage in life, he's clear. His peace is priceless, not négociable, not worth trading for short-lived attention. He's learned that compatibility is rare and precious, that a woman who doesn't respect his pace, his space, his values, simply isn't the right woman for him. His standards today? They're not unreasonable. They're precise. He values kindness, calmness, emotional maturity. He values reciprocity, not one-sided effort. If she brings chaos, drama, or disrespects his rhythms, he doesn't argue. He doesn't negotiate. He simply remains single gladly, because his space is clean, his mind is calm, his wallet untouched. And when you fought hard to earn that level of peace, why gamble it away for someone who doesn't even understand what peace really means? 11. He's found more peace alone than he ever did in a relationship. For many older men, there's a surprising revelation that arrives quietly. For the first time in years, they feel like themselves again. No arguments over trivial things. No tension when walking into their own kitchen. No power struggles over nothing. Just quiet. Just clarity. Breathing room. Freedom to move through their days without defending every decision, without explaining every mood. And once a man experiences that kind of inner stillness, that calm, that freedom, he doesn't rush to give it up. So when friends or family ask, "Why aren't you dating?" he smiles gently. Because the truth is simple. He's not against love, but he's not willing to lose this peace he fought so hard to reclaim. Why go back to noise when quiet feels like home? 12. Wisdom comes with time. Older men aren't naive anymore. They've lived, they've loved, and yes, they've lost. But most importantly, they've learned. The man he is today doesn't rush in. He doesn't jump at attention. He doesn't mistake chemistry for compatibility. He observes. He listens closely. He takes his time, because wisdom taught him this. Trust must be earned, not promised. Kindness must be consistent, not occasional. Love must come gently, not as a storm. And above all, he knows the value of boundaries. Once upon a time, he surrendered his role as leader, as protector of his own peace. Not anymore. With wisdom comes stronger standards, stronger boundaries, stronger respect for himself. And that's why today, if love can't honor who he has become, he simply waits. Not bitter, not broken, just wise and awake. 13. He's done performing for love. Flowers, dinners, smooth lines, all designed to win her over. That phase, it's over. In his younger years, he believed the performance mattered. That being charming, impressive, playful, would keep a woman interested. But experience taught him otherwise. He saw too many situations where all that effort didn't create true connection, only temporary admiration. Today, he leads with purpose, not performance. He speaks simply, directly. He shows up honestly, not as a character trying to please. If a woman requires a show, if she needs constant entertainment, she's not ready for a real man. She's not ready for the man he has become. Because love, for him now, is about alignment, not applause. He no longer auditions for affection. He lives and lets anyone truly compatible simply join the life he's built or quietly walk away. 14. He's tired of the shallow dating scene. The modern dating world, dating apps, endless swiping, filtered selfies, surface-level conversations, it all feels hollow. At his age, he craves something grounded, a connection that goes beyond emojis, clever captions, curated photos. He's not impressed by likes or followers. He's impressed by depth, by honesty, by kindness that doesn't need an audience. Too often, what looks good on the surface hides instability beneath. A charming online profile means nothing if there's no peace in person. He's looking for someone who's ready to build, not just pose, who understands that real life is messier, slower, deeper than what fits in a feed. So while the modern dating scene might feel exciting for some, for him, it feels exhausting. He steps back, quietly, intentionally, because he's no longer chasing attention, he's protecting peace. 15. He knows that when physical closeness fades, it's a sign. For some older men, intimacy fades. But that fading isn't just about age, it's about something deeper. He recognizes that loss of physical desire can reflect emotional distance, a quiet sign that connection has weakened, that presence has eroded. Rather than pretend everything's fine, rather than mask it with distractions or denial, he listens to that shift carefully. For him, intimacy is more than physical. It's a measure of trust, comfort, emotional safety. So when that intimacy begins to fade, he doesn't fight harder just to restore appearances. He reflects, he pauses, he examines. Sometimes it means healing alone. Sometimes it means acknowledging that the relationship itself was never as aligned as it seemed. He knows that not every stillness is peace, and not every distance is accidental. His willingness to step back when closeness fades is not a failure. It's wisdom. 16. He's learned freedom without responsibility isn't growth. Some men stay single simply to avoid responsibility, to live untethered, detached, accountable to no one. But the wiser men, the ones who have lived, loved, lost, and learned, they understand that true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want, whenever you want. It's about living with purpose, with discipline, with clarity. Freedom without direction is just wandering. Freedom without intention quickly turns to stagnation. He's seen it in others, men who call themselves free, but in truth, they're drifting, running not from women, but from themselves. So for the older man who chooses singleness today, it's not an escape, it's not rebellion, it's maturity. He's not avoiding love, he's choosing growth on his own terms. And if love ever arrives again, it must complement that growth, not disrupt it. 17. He's afraid to open up again. This may be the quietest but deepest reason of all. Not every man who stays single has been mistreated by women. Sometimes it's about wounds he hasn't yet faced. Betrayals that cut deeper than he admitted at the time. Disappointments that linger long after they seemed resolved. His walls? They aren't made of bitterness. They're made of memory. His distance? It's not rejection. It's protection. Because once a man has been cracked open truly, deeply broken, it takes more than charm to reach him. It takes patience. It takes kindness. It takes presence without pressure. So while some may interpret his caution as coldness, those who know better understand. He's not cold. He's careful. Not because he fears love itself, but because he fears pretending again. This isn't a rejection of women. It's not bitterness. It's wisdom. Older men today aren't asking, how can I keep her? They're asking, how does she fit into a life I already built and already love? So if you know a man who seems distant, quiet, careful, remember, he's not lonely. He's healed, and he's protecting what he fought hard to reclaim, his peace. If this resonates with you, share below, I didn't quit love, I chose peace. You're not alone. You're finally free.